High-level people. In terms of content, in terms of what we can bring into the lessons, do you have any ideas about what works or might work? Who wants to speak?
Newspapers, particularly in reference to current affairs and local current affairs.
Yes. Yeah.
Poetry, Shakespeare, classic, more advanced texts, and then leading on to the old English and dialects.
Right.
So drawing out topical, current, local affairs and pitching it so that it is in the moment. We're looking what's happened this morning, what's in the newspapers this morning, how can we engage them? They don't know what goes on in Devon. Most of the time we don't know what goes on in Barnstable. So it's engaging them in what's going on.
Reading the local paper, you wonder you want to know a lot of the time.
That's very true.
There is actually, it just made me think, very appropriately being from Clovelly, there's a lovely piece that I've used with sort of intermediate up on YouTube, which I won't attempt to get up now, but it's this couple sitting in a shed in Clovelly talking about looking after the donkeys. And the accent is wonderful, it really is. And there's a lot you can pull out of that because there's visual things going on as well. And that's the thing, obviously, if you've got some that aren't as high level, you need to think, is there something visual that they can latch onto here? Obviously, we can pre-teach some vocab, but those things like that are great because I would use it after the trip before because it kind of spoils the impact. But here, talking of newspapers, I struck gold this summer. It just so happened that the week they were here, there was this in the North Devon Journal about this chap who cycled from Clovelly to Serbia. Not only did they visit Clovelly on that week's trip, but also this chap went to Novi Sad, which is where my students were from. Yeah. Was I ever excited? And they were high level, so they could read it. So yeah, I'm constantly scouring the papers looking for anything, usually looking for local interest articles and things that would be obviously usable in more than one lesson. But so that was gold dust, obviously. That comes along probably once every 100 years if you're lucky. And we'll talk about the charity element as well. Group going to Exeter on the train, the on the Tarka line, it just so happens. Cyclist takes on the train and wins. Don't know if any of you read that story. Guy who made a bet in the pub that he could cycle to Exeter faster than the train could get there, which is not hard actually. And he did it. He did it.
He won that.
But yeah, so another bit of local interest ties in with the fact they've been on the Tarka line.
So they read the article and then discuss it. Is that how you use it?
Yeah, there were lots of ways you could do it. This is just looking at actual content that you could use in the classroom. Because I might give them specific questions to look for. I might ask them to read it and then do a presentation on it. Could do it as a journalist interviewing.
Yes.
So it's just sort of starting, something to start with, if you like, as a key point. If I go back up now to where I was going to be. So, what you've already touched on, of course, using reality, using real things as much as possible. TV clips, BBC or ITV, YouTube. You can actually go through, look up on the BBC or ITV and look up programme archives and search under particular topics. So if you wanted to do something on, I don't know, environment, you could look up programmes on the environment, see if they're relevant to what you're doing and have little clips available. So it's relatively straightforward. I've got one on, I'll show you in a minute that I use.
One of the YouTube clips that I use that always works really well as an introduction to the RMLI is particularly if they've just been tabooed, and if this happened in a week when the group had been tabooed, and that night there was an incident on the beach where a young boy was rescued, and the lifeguard concerned had got a GoPro camera and had actually filmed, so the whole rescue was filmed, and showing that, even though I had to just show it on my iPad walking around, showing it to the group because I managed to download it, but the fact that that was actually on the beach that they'd been to that afternoon and that happened, that was a real kind of...
Yes,
and it
hugely relevant.
Yeah.